I'm sorry. I looked over and the pretty RGB lights weren't on. Take 2. So...
Man, Witch Out the Holy Night is really just cursed on this channel.
All the jank. Whenever knickknacks involve jank.
Yeah. Yeah. Just absolutely destroying us.
You don't understand. We recorded like a solid 2 minutes before we realized our mic just was muted.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
From the top, I guess you just got done playing this.
As of yesterday. It would have been a week ago, but Wi-Fi intervened. And it was yesterday, as a matter of fact, on stream. So it gives you a kind of like a visual of when we recorded this, because I did stream the choice bit of Fate, the Witch on the Holy Night, yesterday.
Yeah.
Granted, I will also say, I was advised that it would take me a couple of hours, right? And it did. It took me, counting technical issues, it was like, 4 hours. The stream itself, I think, is only 2 technically.
Yeah.
But like, typically, I would say that if I hadn't had plans later yesterday, I would have probably just kept streaming and picking different dialogue options until I hit the right combination.
You'd have been a little bit more experimental about it.
Yeah, but like 2 times through, and then I was like, okay, we're gonna start.
You are running
Bookmark
on the last
saving
45 minutes. You need to finish this up.
Yeah, like either I leave this unfinished or I finish it now. And I mean, you did send me the guide, so like.
Yeah, I knew there was either going to be a point where you just didn't have time, or you probably wanted to get things done.
Yeah, and to be fair, let's all applaud me here. The first time through, I died pretty early, but the second time through, I did make it to like 3 choices from the end on my own.
Let me tell you, the part where you died at, that first time you died,
yeah,
I died at that exact same part.
Yeah, but also, the second time through, I made it pretty far on my own, before actually, before it ended. That's probably why I needed to wrap it up so quickly after that, is because I did make it a fair bit further on my own.
Yeah.
I think I made it to choice like U, and it's A, B, A to Z, so.
I think there's only so many dead ends where you can actually get killed off. I don't know. I can't think of very many opportunities where that would present itself.
Yeah.
But I guess just this is in the section we muted. But how did it feel playing it on a computer instead of on a PlayStation?
Better. I mean, I'm sure you could tell yesterday, right?
Yeah.
But better, because when I play things on PlayStation, I like my PlayStation set up in my bedroom, right? Like right over my bed, because I also use it as like a TV. So when I'm like lying in bed, I can like watch TV or something like that. And that means that if I'm playing or watching TV, whatever I'm watching has to be like keeping my attention, whether that be, and if I'm playing games that I'm upright, right? And it's hard to have the desire to stay upright when I'm not actually doing anything. I'm just clicking buttons. Whereas opposed to when I'm on a PC, I'm automatically upright and at attention. And it's not as if I don't have a fair bit of experience reading things on my PC screen, because like we've talked about this before, but when I started reading fan fiction, I didn't have like a phone or a tablet that I could read fan fiction on, right? So like the first 4 years that I read fan fiction and books online, I had to read them on just straight up a laptop screen. So like I have a lot more empathy for reading things on a desktop screen or a laptop screen in scrolling format. I mean, when I first read Solo Leveling, I read the damn thing on my fucking PC, clicking through the scrolling format. So, it's far more tolerable to be sitting up and doing something like that, like looking at the computer screen. And then in general, just including chat in anything helps me a little bit, because then I'm staying focused on what I'm doing. I'm not just on my own time, because when I'm on my own time, I've got butterfly brain. I mean, you've seen it, but I've got butterfly brain. I hear one thing and I'm like, oh.
There's a reason I don't think you finished any game besides maybe Baldur's Gate 3 on your own.
Yeah.
Did you ever finish Baldur's Gate 3?
So, yes and no.
You were playing with a group.
Well, not as a multiplayer, but the one playthrough I have that's currently in Act 3, and to be fair, I'm making very good progress on my other 2 playthroughs. But the one that I have that's in Act 3, I was not in a multiplayer or co-play game, but I was tandem playing with a friend. So we were in the same acts at the same time, like giving each other tips and tricks and talking each other through certain fights. Because neither of us game very much, so it was very much like a communal experience, and it just doesn't feel right. Like, so I entered the final battle, right? Like, I'm in the final battle, so regardless of what I do, if I turn that game save back on and play through, like let it play, that I would get the achievements for end of game. Even if I did nothing but got slaughtered in the street, I would get the bad achievements for end of game. So I am at the end of game. I'm just waiting for her to catch up, because we started as tandem play, and I'd like to finish it as a tandem play. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not that I haven't finished it, it's that
I think it's at this time, like, you just don't have that same flow state with video games that you do with books.
No, because books, I start them and I finish them in very short order.
And like I'm not the kind of person who in every video game can enter that flow state, but I definitely know, like, if I get into a video game, I can just sit there if I'm enjoying myself.
I think for me with video games, it's the level of frustration, right? Because with a book, I'm just reading the book through. There's no choices I have to make, and arguably that makes it easier to just speed through it. With a game, I can frustrate myself easily. Like, we've seen it when I've played other games on the channel, like Wind Waker, getting really irritated, or something like that. Or like, I was playing Baldur's Gate the other night, which I will be back to streaming Baldur's Gate on the channel, don't you worry, probably not next week, but the week after. But like, I was playing Baldur's Gate at home, and I got to a point where I was like, I have to roll a certain thing. And I'm like, granted, I could just take the roll I got, but I'd lose a companion. And I don't really want to do that, because this isn't a public playthrough, so if I'm save scumming, I don't really care. But, oh my god, I spent 2 hours re-rolling the same fucking roll over and over and over again, and I never got the roll I needed. And I just stopped. I just logged out of the game and was like, I will come back to this in a day or two when I don't feel like putting a bullet in my head when this character speaks, when I fail this roll.
Well, gamer rage is just real.
Yeah.
So it's definitely, that's the other thing I figured, is that chat might be more helpful to you in keeping.
But if nothing else, I will say, like, obviously I was only playing for a couple of hours, right? Yeah. And you'd warned me it was going to be a couple of hours, and I prepared for that. I was prepared for like 4 to 5 hours. And we had some technical issues at the very beginning. It took me like a good 30, 40 minutes to get everything going and started properly, because my Wi-Fi was still having a fucking fit. I think I eventually figured out that while they repaired the Wi-Fi, something's up with the upload speed in general. So like, I was trying to upload the 2 most recent reacts that I'd edited. So like all the ones we had prepared up to then. And because I was trying to upload both of them at the same time and stream through the channel, it dropped. It gave me a 98% drop frame rate. Like, it just was not coping with doing all 3. So I had to pull both of them down and choose to stream instead of upload. So those will get uploaded later, although I do not have thumbnails for either of them.
I can get them.
And they will not.
Reacts, they'll, just as long as don't put them up the day of, and I should be able to get them.
They're like ready 2 weeks in advance, 3 weeks in advance. I'm ahead.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't even have a good track of what thumbnails I've done. And I know there's a spreadsheet.
But so for me, if I'd had an unlimited amount of time, I would have been perfectly happy to, because you gave me a guide if I wanted to be able to finish it and I just didn't have time. And I would have been perfectly happy to just sit there clicking through different dialogue options, trying different things, keeping track of like what choices I'd made, because I've done that before in other games. Like I've done that thing where I'm just like, okay, double check that, cross it out, double check that, cross it out. I mean, I'm perfectly fine to sit there and do that. Like, I enjoy that to a certain point. So like, obviously I did use the cheat sheet to get through the third time.
Was your third run?
Yeah, because the first time I died pretty early on at the walking outside with Aozaki, right? Which there didn't seem to be a way to get around that. If you choose that decision, you just die.
Yeah, you just die at that point.
But the second time, I did almost get to the end. I got to like decision U before I made the stupid choice. Yeah.
I mean, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was it. That you weren't supposed to stay with Tobimaru.
I left him in the room with me and let him sleep on the couch, and then he killed himself with laughing at the photo.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say I wasn't necessarily, and like, obviously this is, me, but like, I don't totally get the solution.
I caught that while I was watching that. You were a little like,
and I think maybe some of this comes in. I think one of the commenters on stream mentioned something about day one, and I, up till the end, still had not even realized that there was like an accounting of days and I'd missed a day. Like, I still did not realize that up to the literal end when it was explaining to me that I'd somehow like missed a day. Never caught that. Because that was like right at the very beginning when the invitations were being handed out.
So I'm pretty sure, as far as like that invitation thing goes, and the like, what should have given you the suspect for Kojika, the character you're playing as, being one of the sweethearts, is like they're constantly, and you never see this day one. It's never shown on screen.
Yeah.
But you're constantly being given like narrative on how many invitations were sent, who they were sent to, and how that all worked. But like it's kind of hidden in the dialogue there. I think the other thing that might give it away is they kind of put a gun on the mantle at the beginning by saying sweethearts could even be me. Like, she brings it up. Sweethearts could be, like, they made the mechanic that sweethearts could be the person and they don't know. And it's kind of hard to play with that if you, like, why would they even include that detail if that wasn't going to be relevant kind of deal? It's the gun on the mantle.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, I did, like, obviously that I didn't catch because I was like, whatever, that just sounds like one of those things that, you know, you'll sometimes say in mysteries when they're like, it literally could be anyone in this house, including me, the one who is investigating, and it's almost never the one who's investigating because it's just something they're saying to reassure people that they're being impartial. You know what I mean? And then, like I said, I just missed the whole day one thing. Like, did not catch that in the dialogue at all at any point. Even when they were explaining it, I was like, I definitely
have to be a throwaway line.
Yeah.
And I do feel like in some ways the story does itself a bit of a disservice with that, because for two reasons. It's a little bit too obscure to get on your first run through, I think, because you're not going to catch that there's a discrepancy between what your main character is saying with the invitations and like how they were written out versus what everyone else is saying. And you're not going to, you're not going to figure out on that first run, but you saw on the bad ending for that, as soon as you got the bad ending, it just tells you anyway. So like most players aren't, including you, aren't going to go back and like see, oh, this is how this works, or this is what's going on here.
Yeah, like I definitely wasn't going back straight to the well, to be fair, at the point where I'd gotten through that second playthrough and that had been like revealed to me in part, I didn't have enough time to go back through and read every line of dialogue from beginning to end. And maybe if I'd been playing on my own, or if I didn't have plans later in the day that I had to cut the stream off by a certain point, I might have been more, I probably would have been willing to like go back and start reading from the very beginning, because I know that sometimes, like, so I read very fast, and I know that sometimes I'm not the best at like digesting and maintaining everything I read. I tend to have a very good memory for stuff I've read, right? But it's highly dependent on whether or not my brain perceives that as like something actually like important or interesting. And so it's sometimes the little details, like I'll remember funny anecdotes, I'll remember fun facts, I'll remember like integral story moments like years and years later without any prompting, but like that little like tiny bit.
But like even then, like the specific invitation way of getting to that, that is like a throwaway line that's specifically to lead to another conclusion earlier in the story. I don't think that's something that you're going to be able to notice on a first run. And on future runs, like, or when you're doing that run, you're probably, if you didn't catch that and you don't, in your brain doesn't put together the not the red herring, the gun on the mantle, you're going to do what you did. You're going to pick Alice or Aliko, because who could have activated Sweethearts? Honestly, Alice actively committing a murder in the middle of that story
doesn't help in your suspicion of her, because like at that point you're like, well, you know, what if they don't know that they're doing it, you know?
So I see where you got tripped up, and I think obviously you were on a time limit, so like you probably to some extent appreciated that they just tell you, oh, it's me. Or congratulations, you killed everyone, is what that bad end says. But I think if you did have more time, it still wasn't him, because then it just gave you the answer right there. I have that problem with the Sojiro in the first choice as well, especially Because fun fact, and this is my own irritation, you didn't have to worry about this because you used the guide before you found out about this at all.
Yeah.
If you get to that point and you make the wrong decisions, especially when you're doing I think most of it's when you're doing the whose alibis don't line up.
Yeah.
If you make the wrong decisions there, and I believe in some other places if you don't see things, when you get to that final decision, if you try to pick Sojiro, it's going to say, no, I don't have good enough reason, I need to think this through more, and then she dies anyways in the bad end. So, if you didn't pick the exact right things, even if you know it's Sojiro, you get the bad end. Yet the game will tell you it's Sojiro. So it's kind of irritating to have to like go all the way back, all the way forward, even if you know the answer. But they give you the answer, so it's like...
Okay, that makes sense.
You see where that part can get a little frustrating.
Yeah.
And that's why I gave you the guide.
The alibi ones are really confusing. Like, the second time I went through, I was really paying attention to those. I don't know if you saw, but I, like, basically stopped talking to chat for a hot minute to just stare and read.
And I think those are a little confusing because they ask it like you're comparing them to each other, but in some ways you're supposed to be comparing it to what Kojika sees throughout the day as well.
Yeah.
And if you're not thinking to keep track of that before that, you're never going to get that right on a first playthrough.
Yeah. Yeah, because I definitely didn't get all of them right on the first playthrough. I think I got like one of them right both times through, and it was a different one each time.
The second time you came much closer.
Yeah, because I had at least one of the right people each time, but I kept picking the double answers because I thought I was supposed to be comparing them to one another, like more solidly.
And like
Troy,
like most, like the other visual novels I play Fate Stay Night and Tsukihime at this point, they don't really... Oh, I'm not even on camera. The camera readjusted itself.
Oh, yeah, that explains it.
Okay, we're gonna half-heartedly do this, but we don't really need me on camera in a minute anyways, so... Fucker. This is the part where Sekhie keeps this entire thing in the video. Just to fuck with me. Come on. I've made you work long-term before. Okay, I need you to go a little lower. This works, although Sekhie's now just a floating head.
It's okay. Yeah, I'm not coming up any further. It's fine. Oh, I was gonna say there was something. I was also really bad at counting the amount of like the first time through. I didn't even account for the fact I didn't even realize Yamashiro was missing, and I like fully just did not know that there was someone missing from the party the whole time, or about the whole token. Like the first time through, I fully was not counting people at all.
I think that kind of works to its benefit because that's the kind of thing you can notice on a first playthrough, and that like, oh, Yamashiro's been missing since the very start of this story.
Yeah,
and
he
then
literally
you catch him,
showed
like,
up and
a third of the way through dead.
Yeah, because he's down sitting and talking to Hosuke and Alice, but then you go up to Nap and no one ever sees him after that. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I did not even notice. Not
it's like,
even
this murder mystery was happening. And it's kind of the hint that you get that the murder mystery is happening before you found the first body. Like, everything was already in motion by then.
Yeah.
I did appreciate that. Okay. So, this is going to be important because I know you don't retain much between these, but how did you feel about the characters, and I guess especially the new character?
Well, hang on a second. I'm trying to... before you noticed the camera, I had something I wanted to say about the beginning of the stream when I wasn't sure, because I didn't know if you were there, like, the whole way through the stream. And I feel like I did something at the very beginning. And I can't remember now. Fuck. Damn it. Maybe it'll come back to me.
I don't know if this is what you're talking about, but there is also the little short story with Bale and Toko where you get that more their dynamic.
No, it wasn't about that. It was something. It was once I started the choice-based section. I had something I wanted to say about it, and I can't remember now. Just cannot remember. All right. Like the characters overall. Okay. I don't. It was weird because I feel like I was more suspicious of like some characters because I was like, it feels like they're not acting the same way that they did in the story, right? Like some of them just felt off. Like Aozaki was like flipping the fuck out, you know? Like she was not acting the same way that she did for like most of the story. You know what I mean?
Maybe, but I think you just underestimate how much of a girl failure she was in the story as well.
Yeah, well...
Remember, these two are the ordering food to up the hill and not realizing they need 3 people after a certain point.
That is true. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. So, were you there, like, at the very beginning before it was revealed to be a murder mystery? This would have been, like, around, like, 1 p.m.-ish.
No.
Okay. So I was sitting on stream, and this was before any murders were revealed, right? So they were just going to the party, and I was like, I wonder what it's going to be. And I was thinking, oh, maybe it's like a romance thing, right? Because of the whole discussion, right? So I think something happened. Oh, yeah, like, they found what's-his-face dead, right? And I just turned to chat, and I was just like, is this a whodunit murder mystery? And chat was like, no, why would you think that? And I was like, and next they're going to say that the phone line has been cut.
And the phone line was cut.
The phone line was cut.
I do love just how comically, like, perfectly in place it was set up. Because it was set up literally as a ploy to be a murder mystery game. Like, this was Alice literally making Among Us.
No, because I had said something about Agatha Christie too earlier, and that led to us, because I was like, I really like the murder mystery, like, we're all locked in the mansion for the night. And it was so funny because I was like playing through, I was like, this is going to be a murder mystery. We're not going to be able to leave the mansion because the storm is going to be too strong for anyone to get in and out of. And the power, the line to the phone is going to be cut. And at some point, the power is going to go out. I was like, before any of it happened, I was like, I know exactly what's gonna happen. Exactly.
I mean, it was set up to be, like, the most straightforward murder mystery possible plot.
Yeah.
Which I do love, that the way you find out the body is dead is Sojo is like, hey, is dinner ready? Also, Toki is dead in the attic. And it's like, it's so, even for Sojiro, Mr. Not Understanding, it's like, why the fuck are you so nonchalant about
like,
that?
why are you just like, hey, where's dinner? Also, he's dead.
Which, on reread is kind of funny because you sort of realize that I think he was trying to, like, pass it off as a joke immediately when he came in and just get them all to laugh at him. Like,
yeah,
oh, that's a dumb joke. Everyone dies at once.
Yeah, but no.
Which then ties into his motivation of no one thinks he's funny.
Yeah, exactly. I did laugh at the priest's bad jokes in the dark.
I love that a couple characters are just, like, actively going out of their way, like, to screw with people, like the priest.
Alice,
the penguin suit.
I was like, that would have gotten me. One of the people on the stream was just like, so you would be dead, and I'm like, yeah, I'd be dead. I'd be dead at this point.
You would not last.
No, I would have laughed much earlier.
How about Riddell, the exclusive character to this little short story, tanks a heart attack, like a fatal heart attack?
I was so surprised that she tanked a heart attack. Because she tanked the heart attack, I almost for a second thought it was her.
And then Alice fucking murders her.
Yeah, no, because, like, when she got back up before she was murdered, I was like, maybe it's her because she, like, faked her death but didn't actually die. Maybe she just faked all of that because she wants you to not suspect her, and she's the one who's it. Which is obviously what they want you to think, Yeah,
until they murk her.
Yeah, and then they murk her, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about that helicopter sequence?
My God, that was so fucking funny. Especially because, like, the rest of them were just like, yeah, it couldn't have been Riddell. She wouldn't have spent that much money and done something that stupid and gotten herself into so much trouble if she was actually the killer. Like, that was so stupid. It's definitely not her. And the fact that the nun got out because of what happened to the priest being so funny.
I don't even know how to laugh.
Hears about the priest being tied up like a spider in a web fully naked. Just bursts out laughing. Oof. With friends like that, who needs enemies? Glorious. What?
Well, you'll be unpleased to know that to this point, OBS hasn't been recording any audio, so you don't have the audio to sync up to.
Okay.
That just means you'll have to lip sync it at the start.
That's fine.
Okay. I'm sorry. So many technical stuff. We can try to fix it if you want going forward, then you just have to jump in the middle of the stream.
It's fine.
Okay.
It's funnier than anything. So, I mean, I don't really have too many thoughts about, like, the characters and the way that they behaved, because I felt like anytime that they behaved off from the way that they were in story, it just made me suspect them, you know?
And it turns out there was a reason usually that they cover, like, Aoko was dealing with Toko, who she found before everyone else.
Yeah, and that would definitely throw you off your game, you know? Mm-hmm. Or, like, you know, something else happening, and I'm like, okay, that's fair.
Alice was perfectly in character.
Alice was perfectly in character. Honestly, I'm surprised she didn't kill more of them. Genuinely. I am surprised that she did not take out more of them.
Look, you see why Alice is my favorite character from this visual novel?
Oh, yeah, I get it now. I get the penguin suit got it for me. The penguin suit got it for me. I get it. I really like the priest. I'm going to be honest. He's fucking hilarious.
So, you want a fun fact that makes this even weirder for fans of the visual novel?
Oh, boy.
It's not that much of an oh, boy. This technically takes place after the theoretical sequels to Witch on the Holy Night, so fans can pick this apart and pick out pieces of what may or may not have happened. You made a comment, aren't you guys being a little blasé about Magecraft stuff? I think there might be some implication, because they do this again in something we'll cover in a second, where I think a lot of the cast has already figured out that Aoko and Alice are mages.
Yeah, I was wondering, because I was like, y'all are really just blabbing about fucking magic all over the place. Like, okay, alright then.
Like, it's treated as a non-serious side story, so it's, like, okay. Mm-hmm. But I'm pretty sure that's what the implication there is.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That makes sense.
So, yeah. I'm glad to know you enjoyed this section a bit more.
Oh, yeah. It was a lot more fun.
I guess just between the better medium to play it on, having chat there to go back and forth with, and having choices.
Yeah, but not even just chat, just the interactivity of it. Like, I'm not very good at murder mysteries or any sort of, like, mystery sort of thing, because I'm not super analytical as a person, but at least it's something for me to engage with. Like, if I'm not playing the game and, like, fighting people or, like, you know, doing some sort of, like, you know, movement on screen, at least I'm doing something. You know? Mm-hmm. Like, it keeps me thinking.
Whereas, like, the rest of the visual novel is a visual novel in the most literal sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess that probably sums up our thoughts on the visual novel, but we have a bit of an extra thing, so we can cut this a little. So we have for you, or rejoice everyone, we're back with another Sekhie Reacts to Fate.
Is this not all just the same video?
It is all the same video.
Okay.
Honestly, it'd be funny if you put the off-the-shelf intro at the start and then you slip this into the middle.
I could. We'll see.
So, I'm actually starting us off with a video. My personal favorite thing to come out of this event.
Oh boy. What the fuck? What was that?
It's Mihoyo time.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
So, Witch on the Holy Night collaborated with FGO this last year, and it's somewhat uniquely acted as a sequel to the VN. That actually may be a bit too direct, actually. Nasu described that the way he wrote the collab event was like he was writing Witch on the Holy Night 6. And danced around or only hinted at stuff from the unreleased potential sequels. Because there's no real way in hell that Sekhie is ever going to be reading this event, I went ahead and read the fan translation of it, and I just wanted to give an overview of what happened. It has significant amount of meat to it and like extra things for these characters. As you might expect, this is going to be very spoiler heavy, so... And this is all content not on the NA server yet, so just spoiler alert for NA only or people that are waiting for this event. So let's get into a little bit of a story time here. Caldea detects a micro-singularity in the year 2001 and decides to check it out. They arrive and they run into a middle-aged man who directs them to a hot spring said to grant wishes. This obviously screams Holy Grail, so Caldea assumes that it's the source of the singularity, and the middle-aged man parts ways with Caldea. But we do come to find out that he is actually a grown-up version of Sojiro. This will be our first tab. You can actually see grown-up adult Sojiro. It's kind of cursed, ain't it?
Oh, I hate it. I hate it on a lot of levels. So many levels. It's uncomfortable.
That's it. On their way to the hot springs, Chaldea is actually... I see you logging into FGO.
Is that a problem?
No. So Chaldea is actually attacked by a monster and is rescued by Aoko, who happened to be on her way there as well. Mm-hmm. She looks exactly like she did during the events of the visual novel, unlike Sojiro. And it turns out that she's also investigating the singularity. This is an Aoko doing time travel bullshit. After Aoko throws a paper bag over her head for reasons she refuses to elaborate on, the combined group make it to the hot springs. Mm-hmm. There they learn that the hot springs are very, very haunted, with ghosts commonly scaring away visitors or causing disappearances. So an offer was put out by the hot springs' current owner. Any exorcists that could help deal with the ghost problem would be allowed a room and board, and would be allowed to bathe in the multiple wish-granting hot springs.
Okay.
Each springs grants a specific wish. I don't think we need to go down the gambit of them, but some examples here are true love, riches, and eternal youth.
Okay.
Amongst the people there are some rather interesting faces. A lot of them you will recognize. The first one I'll highlight are Bazette and Karen, who we've covered on this channel at this point.
Yep.
Both are there at the hot springs for the springs. I think Bazette's actually might be there for true love.
I love Bazette.
But
Bazette, I will be your true love.
Bazette's also there because if you remember from the episode for Men in the Clear, Bazette is basically a mage bounty hunter. She hunts down ceiling designated mages, and you know who has a ceiling designation on them that she thinks she might find here? Toko Awazaki. The second one is also a fun one. It's Shiro.
Okay.
As in Fate Stay Night Shiro.
Okay.
Shiro is now a blacksmith and was born slightly earlier in the timeline and was never adopted by Kiritsugu Emiya. We will actually cover more on this Shiro and his implications in a future video, but yeah, Shiro is here to handle a business proposal with a rich family.
See, didn't you know? Every video is an Emiya video.
There we got the Emiya! You got Emiya in here finally! I see you in the comments. Next is a Tosaka named Ishtalin and her companion Jane. It's unknown what their exact deal is, but it could either be Space Ishtar visiting from the Servant universe, or another illegitimate daughter of the Tosaka family, because they have plenty of those for some reason. We have no real way of knowing at this time. They're there for one of the springs. I believe it's youth. The next exorcist present is the head of a very rich family with connections to the Japanese criminal underworld. And yeah, so it's the Type Moon Yakuza. She is here with her husband and their daughter. Mm-hmm. And was actually on vacation, as well as finalizing a deal with Shiro for a sword when all of this came up. Mm-hmm. The next part is a bit of a spoiler for something we've yet to see on the channel, but I'll go out and say it. The effective Yakuza head in Type Moon is actually Shiki Ryogi from Garden of Sinners. Yeah, that's where her character is going. And her husband is Kokuto, and their child is someone who you haven't seen before named Mana. We can cover them and their deal another time at some point. Sojiro is also there, but is acting as Sojiro is also there acting as an exorcist, but he's there with a familiar face. The familiar face is Alice Kuonji.
Okay.
Who, like Aoko, hasn't aged a bit, but that's just because her own bullshit magic, not time travel this time. Aoko seems to be avoiding Sojiro, but does end up meeting with Alice and introducing her to Chaldea. Sojiro goes off and does his own thing, and once Alice is caught up and learns Chaldea's deal, she asks to see a summoning as she is curious about the magecraft of fellow summoners. So the Master and Mash agree to do a summoning in their room in the inn, and they decide to summon a servant. When the summoning is complete, everyone's complete shock and partial horror. The summoned servant was not in fact a hero from Earth's history, but a young Sojiro from circa the time of the visual novel. After some mild-mannered freaking out by Aoko and Alice, they leave Sojiro with Chaldea while they go do some investigating, and they ask the group not to leave until they get back. The same night, adult Sojiro leaves at the request of Alice to avoid potential problems we are not made fully privy to. This feels like a hint to the events of a Witch on the Holy Night sequel. After a night of enjoying a hot spring, the group turns in, and in the morning they receive a shocking revelation. Someone went to one of the wish-granting springs, and it appeared the previous night, but they didn't come back. Turns out a murderer had occurred.
Another murder mystery.
When the group arrives, they see who the victim is. It was Aoko. A detective arrives, having been in the area when called, and it's another familiar face. Move on to the next slide here. We get to see adult Tobimaru.
Oh, I'm here for that.
The detective was Tobimaru, and we will learn that, just a throwaway thing here, but we will learn in dialogue that he was here to investigate the place with an adult Sojiro, and that's why, the other reason Sojiro was here. And at first assumes that Sojiro bathed in the youth spring, but he's learned by this point not to put too much thought into the shenanigans of Aoko.
Okay.
Heavy implications here and there aside, the group, besides Sojiro, eventually do learn about Aoko and Alice being mages. Like, I brought that up earlier. They've probably figured that out by now. Last little note, he has also married Kumari, the character. You remember that.
Yep, somebody in stream mentioned it.
Yep, and you saw her recently.
Yeah.
But Tobimaru himself grieves as they collect Aoko's body and gets Sojiro and Caldea's help investigating, as they are the only ones with a solid alibi.
Okay.
Within the next moment, though, who should arrive but Aoko Aozaki, here to investigate her own murder.
What the fuck?
As it turns out, she is currently capable of hopping between and across timelines. When she felt that her in this time had died, she hopped over from another point in her life to investigate. I'm going to cut out the middle portion here. I'll just sum it up as this. They realize different people are visiting the springs each night. Every night, Aoko goes to the spring and gets killed by an exact copy of that person who is meant to fight them and kill them to prevent them from having their wish granted.
Okay.
There's a lot that happens at this point, including the realization that part of what's happening is the actions of a malevolent divine spirit, an ox god that the owner of the springs calls Wan. Basically, Aoko keeps getting murdered in place of the people trying to visit the spring.
Mm-hmm.
By the end, Aoko has died of, I recall, somewhere between 4 to 5 times and just keeps coming back.
Okay.
Eventually, they're able to piece together the true nature of the spring. The spring is one of Alice's ploys again.
Oh, boy.
That she made to grant wishes.
Oh, boy.
Its name is Shining Star, and it has a bunch of pre-made wishes to grant. And most importantly, its role is to grant the number one wish. Mm-hmm. Alice assumed it was useless, as it didn't work due to the number one wish having a surprising caveat to it. Hang on. That wish needs to be truly unique, one of a kind. No one else in the world can have it. So she abandoned it at the springs during a visit with Sojiro circa 1997.
Jesus.
2 years later, she heard about wishes being granted and assumed it was her ploy, and this is where things get a little bit funky. She visits during 1999 with Sojiro to collect it, but she doesn't remember what happened. Everyone checks the guest book and discovers that besides Caldea and Tobimaru, everyone at the inn that's there now was also there during 1999.
Okay.
As it turns out, there was a disaster in 1999 that Aoko caught wind of during that year. And the Aoko Caldea met at the start prevented the world from ending by locking the time period in a singularity and flinging it to the future for her to deal with from scratch.
Okay.
So the question remains, who made the wish and what caused the tragedy?
Mm-hmm.
As it turns out, it's the owner. But that owner is actually in disguise and is, in fact, Kinomi from the visual novel. It's our next face here. Actually, we have 2. So this is Kinomi disguised, his owner disguise.
Okay.
And this is him once he's been unmasked Scooby-Doo style.
Okay. Well, what's his wish?
So Kinomi, apparently, after the events of the visual novel, became a famous stage comedian and would go missing. It was tips that he was out here that actually led adult Sojiro and Tobimaru to be here in the first place. That's why Tobimaru and he were actually at the inn.
Yeah.
Apparently, while he was a comedian, he became aware of a minor small-time J-pop idol. He would become enamored with her, but she was not growing in popularity due to a chronic kidney problem she had, acting as a disability, preventing her from really going as hard as others could.
Oh, no.
He wanted to see her become big, so he tried to support her, but had limited sway, and in the end, could only exchange letters with her. They met once, but before she could make it big, she passed away. Kinomi would be devastated by this and would disappear from the public eye, ending up in the hot springs where he would come across Alice's ploy. His number one wish was for her song to be the number one in the world. The Shining Star was able to acknowledge this as a truly unique wish from Kinomi, and in the year 1999 began its efforts to destroy everything and everyone in the world except for that idol's song. That day, the world nearly came to an end, if not for Aoko sending the ploy to the future. No one actually died during that except for one person, Sojiro, because this fucker can't stop dying. This is why he was summonable as a servant, because he sacrificed himself at the springs to help keep people safe. Aoko was able to find the Shining Star, and it would be easily destroyable, but destroying it would send things back to the way they were, including the death of adult Sojiro. Without hesitation, everyone agrees to go back to 1999 and destroy the Shining Star, as invincible as it seems, without trying so that Sojiro doesn't have to die. So once everyone is forced back to that point, where the Shining Star had just appeared, Tobimaru and Chaldea join, despite not originally being present. They realize that the only way to deal with the Shining Star is to invalidate the wish. They try to make Kinomi reject his wish, not knowing what it was to begin with. It takes a lot to force Kinomi to admit what his wish actually was, because he was scared that he would be laughed at and that he could never, and he never wanted to take back this wish, because that's his true wish. Mm-hmm. So, upon hearing what his wish is, nobody intends to make him go back on it. Instead, another route not possible in 1999 becomes apparent. Tobimaru, over the course of trying to find Kinomi, did look into this idol, knowing Kinomi had a connection, and she even hand-delivered the letters that Kinomi and the idol exchanged to the idol's parents. Because of him looking into the idol, he got to hear her song, and in the moment, hearing Kinomi's wish, he shares Kinomi's wish that he wants that idol song to be the number one in the world. Since it is no longer a wholly unique wish, the Shining Star the wish is no longer valid to the Shining Star, and the Shining Star doesn't know what to do, because mere moments earlier that was not the case. Mm-hmm. This allows Aoko, Alice, and the young Sojiro to challenge the logic of the Shining Star, or challenge the Shining Star and win in a fight. Together they manage to destroy the ploy, and as it collapses beneath its own logic. Everyone returns to 2001 as the singularity fades away. Sojiro is still a Chaldean servant now, so he joins up with them and sticks around. Aoko, being able to time travel, follows them after taking a much-needed vacation, but she arrives at the exact same moment they do. And then finally, Alice for Alice, it's a bit unclear how she becomes a servant, but if anyone can reverse engineer the Throne of Heroes summoning system and force her way in, it's probably Alice. All three become summonable servants. I will go ahead and just show them off here now. So our first summonable servant is Sojiro. He is a Berserker servant, actually.
Interesting.
I do have the FGO wiki, too, for these.
I hate your mouse.
I hate my mouse, too. It's a cheap-ass mouse.
Okay. I'm glad we agree on that. Ugh.
So, Sojiro is summoned in the Berserker class. He's roughly the same as he was in the visual novel. Actually, it's the exact time in the visual novel that he is implied to be here. The time he's summoned from is basically the time around the murder mystery from the visual novel.
Yeah.
I guess he does have his relationships, too, if you want to give a look at them. Shouldn't be long. He's relatively new.
Alright. As long as Aozaki is here, everything will be fine. Things might get chaotic in the beginning, but in the end, everything will be settled. That being said, I want you to keep an eye on her. When Aozaki is alone, she tends to get aggressive. Her words are harsh, but she's a caring person. You can trust her, and above all, she's good at cooking. Who am I talking about? The Ryogi with the knife. Duh. When I was in the mountains, I saw a figure like that, but only once. A bird flying in the diluted sky before the sun rose. It was so pretty it left me speechless, and my chest felt too tight to say a word. Ryogi Saber. I'm strong against pain, but I'd lose to Karen. Turning suffering and pain into power, that's not an ordinary mental strength. She's brazen, nerves of steel, I see, so her heart is strong. She fights combining magecraft and fighting techniques. She's making all her body a lethal weapon. I thought it was just Aozaki. That's about Manan and Maclear. I feel the sensation of a worldly wise man from Muramasa. I've never felt this affinity before. There's no doubt about that there are problems in his everyday life. Next time, I'll go hear about his experiences. I won't do something like training at the mountains to kill a swallow. I won't do it, but if I was a genius, well, couldn't be helped.
So, as far as abilities go, Sojiro here is still Sojiro, so relatively non-combatant, with a few tricks like the one he used to hurt Bale in the visual novel up his sleeve. Mostly his fighting style is as seen during the early parts of the VN. Put himself directly in harm's way, causing Aoko and Alice to fire things off screen to protect this idiot. One thing to note we do find out in the event is that Sojiro, the way he works is he is someone who does not have automatic functions in his body. Like, he doesn't automatically breathe, he doesn't automatically blink. Mm-hmm. Everything he does is manual.
Okay.
So he has unusual levels of control over his body.
I cast manual breathing.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I see his skills, so that's a lot of text.
That's a lot of text.
Mushi Fusatsu Hanro. Shakutenrin Jizai Zaifuza. And Hyakotsu Bansei Sento Shugen.
So, his NP is called Coordinates Unknown, Evil Spirit. We don't know what the last part is.
Rising?
Probably. This NP is censored, so we don't know much about what it is or what it exactly does. All we know is that by the end of a powerful strike that can break through nearly all defenses, Sojiro dies. There's some heavy implication that the scene depicted in the NP is from the ending of a future third installment, giving visual novel fans a fear that Sojiro may not make it, and the adult Sojiro in this event is just an alternate timeline sort of deal. Sojiro really needs to stop getting himself killed, I fucking swear. You can turn this down if you want. As you can see, he's not the one fighting.
Nah, this is one step removed from caster balls. Oh!
That's the move he did on Bale.
Yep.
There's not caster balls. That's just Aoko.
It's one step removed.
That was Alice. My man literally only has one trick.
Yeah.
He's kind of like Jason.
There was a cat on the back of that bike. It's that fucking Robin.
Yep.
Just saying. Okay. Alright. who's next?
Alice, caster servant.
Well, yeah.
That was a you think?
No shit. Oh, that's so cute. Oh. I love it.
So Alice here is post the events of the full unreleased Mihoyo trilogy. She's generally much more personable than she was in the visual novel, though it is still distinctly Alice. Mm-hmm. It is notable that she has gained romantic attraction to Sojiro, but it's one she believes will remain unrequited. She fully believes Sojiro and Aoko will end up together. Again, we have no idea what's actually going on by the ending of that trilogy, unfortunately. And regardless, we also see her, or a new side heavily implied to be a reference to a future event from the trilogy. Her final ascension has her possessed by what fans believe to be the witch that has the first magic Yumina, who is a predecessor to Alice's magecraft. Here she is distinctly labeled as an evil character, as in the alignment chart, unlike normal Alice, who's, I believe, neutral. Could this be a major plot point in the second or third entries? Probably.
Okay. So, Aoko is here too. It seems she's become a servant under circumstances unlike my own. I have nothing to say about her, just like I imagine she has nothing to say about me. She hasn't, right? 'Cause I'd just turn into a sad fight with both of them digging at each other's flaws, see? Huh? Shizuki is here? Why? Did Aoko do something stupid again? Something cosmically stupid? Sorry, I lost my composure. Please forget what I just said. Anyway, if he's here, then you can leave the fighting to just the two of us. Our chemistry is galactically good, one could say. It's an honor to be able to invite Tommy Thumb to a tea party. Please this way, our eternal friend. I have a great story just for this occasion, if I may tell. Fairy tales from literature are outside my realm of expertise, but it's not as if I'm not interested. Could you speak of them to me, Mr. Anderson? I'm especially interested in the duckling story as well as the love letters you never published. I've been to Kashin Koji's room many times. I have much to learn from her skill with puppetry. I don't have any problem with her personally. No, I mean all skilled puppeteers are like that, are they not? The witch of all witches, the monster-spawning Circe. She's completely different from how I imagined her. It was very mysterious to me how one could turn people into pigs using porridge, but I see how she set the scene now. It's very informative. Oh no, it's nothing. Seeing her, Elizabeth Bathory, just surprised me a little. I was thinking of making a ploy in her model at some point, but I probably shouldn't. Or maybe... No, it probably wouldn't be able to beat out the real thing. And that's all Ellie-chan's.
So...
Except for Mecha Ellie-chan and Mecha Ellie-chan 2.0.
They're the only ones not idols.
Yep.
Her means of fighting in her first two ascensions are to make use of ploys you're familiar with from the VN. So the Thames Troll, Diddle Diddle, and of course, my boy Robin.
Yep.
She is hilarious. Hilariously, she is one of the single most durable characters in the game because the way she works is that Robin will protect her from attacks and die for her.
Aww.
In her third ascension, she takes on the possessed personality and pulls out the Wonder Snatch, who we previously didn't get to see any of during the visual novel. It's here and it's kind of horrifying. We'll see that later.
Okay.
For Noble Fantastic, or I guess if you want to look over her skills, you can. They do have like the...
Yeah, Diddle Diddle. And then she ran away with the spoon, the Thames Troll, London Bridge is broken down, My Fair Lady.
Naze, Nani, Puroi.
Lost Robin Rondo.
So, the first NP she has is one of the Great Three Flat Snark. Not gonna go into it. You remember from the amusement park scene. You saw the ploy special, like literally yesterday, explaining it. That's her NP in her first two ascensions, and yeah, it's still fucking beautiful. Mm-hmm. The second NP is Wander Snatch. Alice creates a bounded field of fog. Any prey that wanders into that field are ripped apart by the ploy, who cannot be harmed within it. Let me remind you again that Aoko was helped by it in the visual novel at one point, and asked Alice to never use it again in front of her. Mm-hmm. So...
remember them things. Ouch.
切り分ける None the bridges falling down
Falling down, falling down, the bridge is falling down, my fair lady.
行ってスコーンはないみたい運がなかったわねテムズお願いゴーラウンスコーンはないみたい掴んで閉じてテムズお願い拾いきれるかしら見えなくなる切り分けてテムズお願い
Don't skip all the way to the end because there's the third stage as well.
It's amazing
Penguin.
Penguin.
偵察気をつけて月を超えて夢にかけてシックススリングチョコレート夜の
I remember the chocolate box.
近くディドディ
The cat and the fiddle, the cow jumped over the moon. The little dog laughed to see such tricks and the dish ran away with the spoon.
いいわごっこ遊びをしましょう太古の神秘笑う狐こぼれ落ちて舞台は燃える共に消えスマイルクラッドスナー切り裂いて
Oh.
どこにいても柔らかく息を止めて残念振り出しに戻ってるそこでしょつまびいて楽になって
What was that fat ass bird?
こっちの出口は
It was a very fat bird.
It was an extremely fat bird.
追ってる
They look like the soul collectors from Inuyasha.
I don't have a family reference for that. Let me look it up.
離さない
Soul collectors Inuyasha. At least when they're flying through the fog. Specifically.
こっちの出口は
Oh yeah, I see.
Because those also appear in the fog.
浴びてか
That looks like a blue eyes white dragon. I'm kidding, it does not. But I wish it did.
けてロビンモストオル
That is a fat robin.
そこでしょ
Like, goddamn.
Are you appreciating Scary Fog Monster?
残念
Yeah.
振り出しに戻ってるどこに隠れているのかしらそこにいるのねかわいそうにまだダメ我慢して
Mada dane.
Mata.
Mada dane.
少しずつ少しずつそこにいるのねかわいそうに少しずつ少しずつ
おい
これが私魔女の証いつまで人間の味方をするのこれが私の正体なのにね
Just a little moderately terrifying.
Yeah.
So, our last servant, I assume you know who it is.
It's Aoko.
We have Aoko Aozaki in the Foreigner class.
Okay.
So there is a detail here that we will get back to.
I assume it's the redhead?
Yup.
Okay.
So, Aoko here, we don't really know why she's here. This is far from her first timeline hopping into a Fate game. She did this exact same thing in Fate Extra, assisting the players and upgrading their servants. That was her older self, though, and this is her from what has to be just after the events of the Witch on the Holy Night trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
She calls herself a Traveler class servant, which may be kind of a thing that's close to enough to Foreigner, and is very in line with how the Voyager class will be handled in the future when we get to that. Yeah, we have relationships here.
Is Soju Shizuki-kun doing alright? He may seem serious and obedient on the surface, but he's actually really stubborn and marches to his own beat. If you take your eyes off him for a second, he'll be back with some unimaginable trouble. If he gives you that rabbit-like pout, watch out. He's definitely hiding something. Alice is here too, huh? Guess there won't be any shortage of delicious tea then. The Meinster Witch and the Magical Bullet Witch were actually rather close to each other. Truthfully, I'm not a proper witch, but I'm still called one by some people. Perhaps it's because I'm with Alice a lot. Nice joke, pal. Some rust's leaking out of you. It's said that there are 5 magicians in the world. To be precise, there are 4 currently living while 5 remain. Yumina of the first magic died as thoroughly as is possible, leaving no trace behind. But through that, she reached a state that's practically unkillable. I suppose it's inconsequential to you, though, so forget about it. It's the princess of the true ancestors, so she's an ally of mankind now, huh? According to my future self's knowledge, she sure loves humans. So Ryogi-san is here too. I wasn't involved, but that eccentric enthusiast of mine probably caused all sorts of trouble for her. Maybe I'll pop over and hear some of her stories. To be honest, I've always wanted to do an Earth's Strongest Beam showdown at least once. I'm off to test how far I can match up against Excalibur. Huh. That's surprisingly decent for the infamous goddess Ishtar. Turning Venus, as observed from Earth, into a ball and firing it shows some pretty good taste. But I get the feeling we're fundamentally incompatible. I don't gel with those of the same kind. Let's see. The Sapphire Galaxy. I wonder how far I'd have to go to find a future like that. Or rather, there are already cosmic idols. But that's okay, Blue Universe. Alright, my motivation is surging. I thought she was an executor from the church, but her space-time is all warped. 3 worlds are overlapping in one person. She was already a freak, but could she have reached this level by constantly facing off against the princess of the true ancestors?
I think that's it, because CL should be the newest one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, you probably remember Aoko from the games. All she does is load mana like bullets and continually fire them at her enemies in powerful rounds and bursts.
Mm-hmm.
She knows some decent enough magecraft to provide support, but Aoko in this state is fairly accurate to how you remember her. Just pew pew.
Yeah. So, normal stuff I expect. And then there's magic circuits, magic bullet loading, and once again in this age. And then her noble phantasm is Unfinished Blue.
So, Unfinished Blue is a very, very unique MP in FGO. Lore speaking, it's the transformation she had during the visual novel where she turns herself into a future state of her that is significantly stronger. Mm-hmm. In FGO, this is a fully playable transformation that lasts the rest of the battle. It changes the fight theme that's playing and to be her visual novel theme, and it just gives her a lot more firepower. You can either scroll down, or I did open another tab for it as well up there.
Is it this one?
No, right next to it.
This?
That one.
That? Okay.
So...
Redhead Aoko.
Super Aoko is interesting. In case it wasn't clear in the visual novel, this is just Aoko switching places with her significantly stronger future self, who has red hair. This is the Aoko a lot of Type Moon fans are more familiar with pre-VN, since the light novel was never officially published, and this variant of Aoko is the one people saw in Tsukihime, Melty Blood, and Fate Extra.
Ah. In Search of the Milky Way, Magic Circuits, First Star, Magic Circuit Rotation.
So, ability-wise, she is in theory unstoppable. Her game achievements show her being basically capable of destroying the universe if she wanted to. Let's put it this way without getting into the weeds of it. The villain's plan in FGO Part 1 is to basically turn the universe, or burn up the universe, which required 7 holy grails and an entire human history of planning. Aoko, by the time she is Super Aoko, can do this with just herself. Not to mention, we've seen normal Aoko timeline hopping, which usually requires something like Caldea's systems to pull off. Very few servants are shown to be able to do this on their own, and in terms of raw firepower, she is significantly, and I mean significantly, stronger than normal Aoko. Her fighting style is, I guess, the same as the Super Aoko appearance in the visual novel, but its visuals are taken pretty heavily from her Melty Blood character. As a side note, she is the only current summonable character to have AoE normal attacks.
Okay. And then her noble phantom is Earthlight Starbow.
Remember Aoko's big fuck you beam in the visual novel during the amusement park section?
Yes.
It required a lot of planning and a lot of heavy amplifications to pull that off. Well, future Super Aoko has gotten real good and can just whip it out significantly easier.
I love that for her.
So I have a lot to show here because we have old and new blood.
Okay.
Ooh, loud.
This is from the fighting game, right?
Yeah, just the different appearances of her.
Oh. So it's showing like the old pixelated version and then the new fancy version?
Yep.
Well, whoever made this, your editing skills are top fucking tier.
Yeah, I appreciated this video because it saved me from having to find Aoko's animations in both the original and the new one.
Yeah, like this is god tier editing, you know? I don't even want to know.
The next one is the FGO animations. We'll get to see both regular and super here.
Okay. Caster balls.
Kind of?
For a second. I've said this before, and I'll say it again, but the multiple magic circles overlaying one another, Fairy Tail. It does look like Fairy Tail.
A little bit.
I mean, I'm sure there's other things it looks like, but Fairy Tail is the one I know, so, you know. Pretty sure that's called overkill.
A little bit.
I hate those spirit-ass looking ghosts.
You remember those.
Yep. Hate them with a burning passion. Jesus.
So I have a couple more things here to show you. It's just the boss fights against the Shining Star, just because they're both kind of visually interesting.
Okay. Why do we put 1999 in black and white?
This scene's a flashback, technically. And yes, this is how it's in game, where all the sound effects are cut out except for the boss.
I love how you can see the color block where the blue shows up.
And this is the actual final boss fight.
Okay. So this is 2001.
This is when they go back to 1999.
Okay. From 2001.
Yeah.
Obviously, because 1999 was before color television.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't you know that? Color television appeared in, 2005. Technicolor!
Yeah, we got color television.
You sure you got color television? This is mostly blue. Lots of red too.
There's some yellow in there.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not gonna watch 8 minutes of that. Alright. So I assume we've got
Yes, we do have C's. One note I do want to throw out there regarding that fight. In case you missed it, both had some fun music choices to it.
Yeah.
The first one, the creepier song, was... You probably caught that one. The Raining, It's Pouring.
Yeah.
The second one was actually a remix of the end credits theme from the visual novel. Which I assumed you didn't catch that. What the fuck?
Jesus. Okay. So, Secret Makanai Meishi.
New servant.
Original self-catering menu. It's said that every man who lives alone has at least one unique ability. It was originally a side meal at the Chinese restaurant where Sojiro worked part-time, but it later became his specialty. It's just fried udon noodles topped with another dish, but it's well-seasoned, so it's delicate and flavorful, and it's powerful enough to knock out your housemates who are accustomed to dishes made with high-quality ingredients. It's served naturally and casually on an ordinary day as a token of affection. Food. There was an extra piece of art. I should have just opened it in the other page. Yeah, hold on. There. The Kumano Hot Springs art.
Yep.
Alright. Okay. Very new. So many sprite bits.
Is that Robin with weapons?
Yeah.
I never caught that.
And in full armor.
I love it. Penguin.
Penguin. I'm gonna check out some of these. Dead Robin.
Diddle diddle. That is... Yeah, that's Shining Star.
Okay. Craft Essence XP Strange Twins. Tweedledum and Tweedledee. I hate this. In the winter forest where the chilly air hangs in the air, shadows flop around in time with the girl's steps. It's here, we're here. We have to welcome you, we have to be impressed. After all, we're finally happy guests. The voices of the twins, cheering for the intruder, echoed in the moonlit darkness. Chatty Detective Robin. Blue Commodori's familiar. Despite her cute appearance, even her master recognizes her ability to monitor and track specific targets. However, perhaps because of his limited memory capacity, he slips his lips carelessly, so his true value is not really demonstrated. No. Who killed Cock Robin? Oh, this is gonna be a long one. Who killed Commodori? It was me, said the witch. My childish love killed his freedom. Who saw him die? Me, said the witch. My tearful gaze surveyed his corpse. Who will dig the grave? Me, said the witch. As my final task, I arranged for his death. Who will carry the coffin? Me, said the witch. I will carry you forever, as long as my night lasts. Who will sing the hymn? Me, said the witch. Let me think of this bravery as I hear the cry of the cranes. Finally, who released the Commodori? It was me, the witch said with a lonely smile. In order to return what was once important to what was important, let's return it to the free sky. Who saved the witch? It's me, he said. I may no longer understand human language, but I will return to my life of flying in the wild. But I have protected what is most important to me. Okay, and then... Aoko.
Don't you love the age of ads?
Sure. I hate your mouse with a burning fucking passion. Aw, her with the bag on her face. Okay, so we've got an illustration. Okay. And there's a couple extra art pieces. Oof. That's 1. That's 2.
Go Death compilation.
That's 3. That's 4. And this is 5. And then there's that, which we saw. Okay, just the one craft essence.
Alco has a slow survival rate during murder mysteries.
Waiting in the sky.
I'd say my mouse, but you did that at your place too.
Yeah, there's just a weird thing about like selecting and doing stuff. The first guitar I bought with my own money. Although she no longer uses it, it still supports her in a deep part of her heart. Yes, when you're stuck, just play your favorite sound. It won't solve anything, but your feelings will return to 0, right? The wizard says that starting from the starting point is more exciting than reaching the goal, I have whispered. Over and over again. May you have new encounters in your life. That's why I'm giving you this. When you no longer need it, come back to me. Isn't that not give away, but deposit? You swallowed what you were about to say and nodded proudly. Impossible problems are the monopoly of wizards. One extraordinary thing has been added to the many homework assignments I will have to deal with in the future.
So yeah, that wraps up our everything until the movie comes out on Witch on the Holy Night.
Alice is the best.
Alice is the best.
Alice is the best, and I have no hint for the next video because...
Who knows when this part goes up, and it's not a normal Sekhie Reacts. I will say the next visual novel we do, it could be a hot minute, but it's going to be The Great Ace Attorney, the first one. Some people might ask why I'm not starting with the original trilogy. Because Sekhie likes her period pieces, and I have a feeling the one set in like Victorian London is probably going to tickle her fancy more than the one set in Japanifornia.
I mean, you're probably not wrong.
All right, well, I guess see you next time, folks.